Chapter 6. Not Causing Harm. It is a transformative experience to simply pause instead of immediately filling up the space. By waiting, we begin to connect with fundamental restlessness as well as fundamental spaciousness. Not causing harm obviously includes not killing or robbing or lying to people. It also includes not being aggressive with our action, our speech, or our mind. Learning not to cause harm to ourselves or others is a basic Buddhist teaching on the healing power of non-aggression. Not harming ourselves or others in the beginning, not harming ourselves or others in the middle, and not harming ourselves or others in the end is the basis of enlightened society. This is how there could be a sane world. It starts with the sane citizen, and that is us. The most fundamental aggression to ourselves, the most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves, is to remain ignorant by not having the courage and the respect to look at ourselves honestly and gently. The ground of not causing harm is mindfulness, a sense of clear seeing with respect and compassion for what it is we see. This is what basic practice show us. But mindfulness doesn't stop with formal meditation. It helps us relate with all detail of our lives. It helps us see and hear and smell without closing our eyes or our ears or our nose. It is a lifetime's journey to relate honestly to the immediacy of our experience and to respect ourselves enough not to judge it. As we become more wholeheartedly in this journey of gentle honesty, it comes as quite a shock to realize how much we have blinded ourselves to some of the ways in which we cause harm. Our style is so ingrained that we can't hear when people try to tell us, either kindly or rudely, that maybe we are causing some harm by the way we are or the way we relate with others. We have become so used to the way we do things that somehow we think that others are used to it too. It's painful to face how we harm others, and it takes a while. It's a journey that happened because of our commitment to gentleness and honesty, our commitment to staying awake, to being mindful. Because of mindfulness, we see our desire and our aggression, our jealousy and our ignorance. We don't act on them, we just see them. Without mindfulness, we don't see them. The next step is refraining. Mindfulness is the ground, refraining is the path. Refraining is one of these uptight words and the sounds repressive. Surely alive, juicy, interesting people would not practice refraining. Maybe they would sometimes refrain, but not as a lifestyle. In this context, however, refraining is very much the method of becoming a dharmic person. It is quality of not grabbing for entertainment the minute we feel a slight edge of boredom coming on. It is the practice of not immediately filling up space just because there is a gap. Once I was given an interesting meditation practice that combined mindfulness and refraining. We were told just to notice what our physical movements were when we felt uncomfortable. I began to notice that when I felt uncomfortable, I did things like pull all my ear, scratch my nose or head when it didn't itch, or straighten my collar. I made all kinds of little jumpy, jittery movements when I felt like I was losing ground. Our instruction wasn't to try to change anything, not to criticize ourselves for whatever we were doing, but just to see what we did. Noticing how we try to avoid it is a way to get in touch with basic groundlessness. Refraining, not habitually acting out impulsively, has something to do with giving up entertainment mentality. Through refraining, we see that there is something between the arising of the craving or the aggression of the loneliness or whatever it might be, and whatever action we take as a result. There is something there in us that we don't want to experience, and we never do experience because we are so quick to act. Underneath our ordinary lives, underneath all the talking we do, all the moving we do, all the thoughts in our minds, there is fundamental groundlessness. It is there bubbling along all the time. We experience it as restlessness and edginess. We experience it as fear. It motivates patience, aggression, ignorance, jealousy, and pride, but we never get down to the essence of it. Refraining is the method for getting to know the nature of the restlessness and fear. It is a method for settling into groundlessness. If we immediately entertain ourselves by talking, by acting, by thinking, if there is never any pause, we'll never be able to relax. We will always be speeding through our lives. We will always be stuck with what my grandfather called a good case of the jitters. Refraining is a way of making friends with ourselves at the most profound level possible. We can begin to relate with what underneath all the bubbles and burps and farts, all the stuff that come out and express itself as uptight, controlling, manipulative behavior, or whatever it is. Underneath all that, there is something very soft, very tender, that we experience as fear or edginess. Once there was a young warrior. Her teacher told her that she had to do the battle with fear. She didn't want to do that. It seems too aggressive. It was scary. It seems unfriendly. But the teacher said that she had to do it and give her the instruction for the battle. They arrived. The student warrior stood on one side and fear stood on the other. The warrior was feeling very small and fear was looking big and worthful. They both had their weapons. The young warrior roused herself and went toward fear, prostrated 3 times and asked, "May I have permission to go into battle with you?" Fear said, "Thank you for showing me so much respect that you asked permission." Then the young warrior said, "How can I defeat you?" Fear replied, "My weapons are that I talk fast and I get very close to your face. Then you got completely unnerved and you do whatever I say. If you don't do what I tell you, I have no power. You can listen to me and you can have respect for me. You can even convinced by me. But if you don't do what I say, I have no power." In that way, the student warrior learned how to defeat fear. This is how it actually works. There has to be some kind of respect for the jitters, some understanding of how our emotions have the power to run us around in circle. That understanding helps us discover how we increase our pain, how we increase our confusion, how we cause harm to ourselves. Because we have basic goodness, basic wisdom, basic intelligence, we can stop harming ourselves and harming others. Because of mindfulness, we see things when they arise. Because of our understanding, We don't buy into the chain reaction that make things grow from minute to expansive. We leave things minute. They stay tiny. They don't keep expanding into World War III or domestic violence. It's all come through learning to pause for a moment, learning not to just impulsively do the same thing again and again. It is a transformative experience to simply pause instead of immediately filling up the space. By waiting, we begin to connect with fundamental restlessness as well as fundamental spaciousness. The result is that we cease to cause harm. We begin to know ourselves thoroughly and to respect ourselves. Anything can come up, anything can walk into our house. We can find anything sitting on our living room couch, and we don't freak out. We have been thoroughly processed by coming to know ourselves, thoroughly processed by this harness gentle mindfulness. This process connects us with the fruition of not causing harm, fundamental well-being of our body, speech, and mind. Well-being of body is like a mountain. A lot happens on a mountain. It hails and the winds come up, and it rains and snow. The sun gets very cold crossover. Animals sit and piss on the mountain, and so do people. People leave their trash and other people clean it up. Many things come and go on this mountain, but it just sits there. When we have seen ourselves completely, there is a stillness body that is like a mountain. We no longer get jumpy and have to scratch our noses, pull our ears, punch somebody, go running from the room or drink ourselves into oblivion. A thoroughly good relationship with ourselves results in being still. It doesn't mean we don't run and jump and dance about. It means there is no compulsiveness. We don't overwork, overread, oversmoke, overreduce, overseduce. In short, we begin to stop causing harm. Well-being of speech is like a lute without string. Even without string, the musical instrument proclaims itself. This is an image of our speech being settled. It doesn't mean that we are controlling, uptight, trying hard not to say the wrong thing. It means that our speech is straightforward and disciplined. We don't start blurting out words just because no one else is talking and we are nervous. We don't chatter away like magpies and crows. We have heard all. We have been insulted and we have been praised. We know that it is to be in situation where everyone is angry, where everyone is peaceful. We are at home in the world because we are at home with ourselves. So we don't feel that our out of nervousness, out of habitual pattern. We have to run at the mouth. Our speech is tame, and when we speak, it communicates. We don't waste gift of speech in expressing our neurosis. Well-being of mind is like a mountain lake without ripples. When the lake has no ripples, everything in the lake can be seen. When the water is all churned up, nothing can be seen. The still lake without ripple is an image of our mind at ease, so full of unlimited friendliness for all the junk at the bottom of the lake that we don't feel the need to churn up the water just to avoid looking at what's there. Not causing harm requires staying awake. Part of being awake is slowing down enough to notice what we say and do. The more we witness our emotional chain reaction and understand how they work, the easier it is to refrain. It becomes a way of life to stay awake, slow down, and notice. At root of all harm we cause is ignorance. Through meditation, that's what we begin to undo. If we see that we have no mindfulness, that we rarely refrain, that we have little well-being, that it is not confusion that's big beginning of clarity. As the moment of our lives go by, our ability to be deaf, dumb, and blind just doesn't work so well anymore. Rather than making us more uptight, interestingly enough, this process liberates us. This is the liberation that naturally arises when we are completely here, without anxiety about imperfection.